me just check that I'm live where I'm supposed to be live, because I never am. There's always something going wrong. So we're definitely live on Facebook, and we've got sound. So hopefully all is well. Guys, what an interesting show we have got for you tonight. I've just briefly been speaking to this gentleman in the, I think we call it the pre-show area. And what a great guy. This is his first live interview. This is a Grant Talks Funny Bits exclusive. So I'm really excited about it. I'll be honest as well, you know, we've had some tech issues with this show because it's live. And we've been messaging each other during the day just to make sure everything's fine. And I was a bit nervous. But he's come on, everything looks fine. He's currently on the road. He's traveling and he's a great guy. So please make sure you kind of put that applause emoji, show him lots of love, lots of respect, and let's get lots of comments going for this guy. So please make him feel very welcome. The one, the only, Mr. Daniel Hedrick. Clap chair, make some noise.
Oh, hell, I'll do it for you guys.
There we go.
No, thanks for having me, Grant. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for coming on. It's great. I mean, the weird thing with this show is I think we're 2 years in now, and it's like there's so many great hypnotists out there, and it's trying to get everybody on and not offend anybody and get the right people. And it's trying to get through to everybody. And I love your branding. I love what you're doing. I love your energy as well. Patrick Picard has got the applause emoji for you there as well, Daniel. Patrick's a great hypnotist. I mean, tell us about you. I mean, you're currently on the road. You're traveling at the moment.
Yeah, I'm in Iowa. Seems to be the center of prom night after prom dry parties, alcohol-free parties where they lock them in all night. And sorry to interrupt. How does that work? Like here in the UK, like for me as a hypnotist, I want to be in my car and on my way home for about 11 p.m. I don't like to go much later than that. I've heard like you guys do shows like into the early hours of the morning, like 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, my first one can start at midnight, and the most I've done is 3 in one night.
Wow.
And first one will start at midnight, and I think my last one, the latest I started is 5:30 in the morning. Wow. And that was a night I had 3 in one night.
So what are audiences like at that time in the morning? I mean, surely putting them to sleep is going to be quite easy at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It gets really easy. And by then I'm tired and I'm like going, all right, who wants up here? You know, but no, yeah. I gotta bring the energy for them. Yeah. You know, because I gotta get it up. You know, I want there to be energy. Yeah. And so then I gotta kind of keep the show going in an upward motion too. Because like again, some of these kids are there and it's like working on being 6 o'clock in the morning. They've been up since 6 a.m. yesterday.
Wow.
So I gotta keep them jacked up there pretty good.
Yeah.
And there's nothing beneath me that I won't do to get some laughs, to get it going.
There we go. Colin V. Bass says, "Hey Dan, got a great guest here. I truly love this guy." Richard Cole is in the house as well. Richard Cole, that there Canadian hypnotist.
Yeah.
Well, we've got some love coming in for you now here as well. Yes, I thought Anthony Guest, you spotted that as well when he says he's got to get it up.
Right. And at my age, you know, sometimes that's an issue.
There's a tablet for that, I think.
What's that?
I said there's a tablet for that, isn't there, I think?
Yes, there is a tablet for that. So do not take one before going to a high school show. It's going to say it up front.
I'll remember that. I'll jot that down. No.
Yeah. Do not take those pills before going to a high school.
Yes. Dennis Ridgway is here as
well. It'll be a long, hard night.
Hey.
Sorry.
Sorry. So, I mean, you mentioned earlier, like in the UK, I pride myself on being a road warrior. I love being on the road. I love traveling. But for me, I can be anywhere within England in roughly like 6 or 7 hours. How long does it took you to get to your job?
It took me 1,835 miles to get here. It took about 2.5 days, halfway across the United States to get here.
Wow.
But I'm going to be here for 6 weeks, and it didn't pencil out to keep flying home or even to rent a car because of COVID. Renting a car is very expensive and sometimes a nightmare. You can't even get them. And so this way I have my vehicle here the whole time. The deduction is 58 cents a mile now. So that covers gas and about $300 a day for driving for me. So that's kind of nice. But I generally drive about 14 hours in a day when I have a long haul like this one. So
brilliant. What do you drive, if you don't mind me asking?
I have a Suburban, but this time I took my pickup. It was diesel. I get a lot better gas mileage.
Yeah.
Suburban started having a couple of issues, and so I bring my pickup. Here's the odd part: is during the entire drive, two really long days, I generally don't even turn the radio on once.
Wow.
Yeah, I go over the show and different routines, and sometimes I come up with, ooh, that was funny. When I get out of my own head driving, something funny will come up. I'm like, oh shit, that's got to go in the show, you know. And I mean, even if it's just a throwaway joke, is like, oh no, that's got to be in there. Or sometimes I come up with a really nice segue into another routine.
Nice.
So.
But yeah, I suppose it's that traveling time is a great time for exactly like that. You said, to kind of get in your head and do those mental rehearsals. So yeah, that's a really great use of time. I'm
driving down the road and people are looking at me like, what the is that guy doing? Because I'm booming it out there, like I don't have my microphone in my hand, so I make it loud just like when I have the mic in my hand. But people look at me and go, he's genuinely having a good time.
That's what you got to do, though. And like you said earlier, about you've got to bring the energy. We've got to kind of show the audiences how to react. If we're in ourselves, if we're introverts on stage, then we're spreading that into the audience. So yeah, we've got to take it up there as well. So tell me about Daniel before hypnosis. What were you doing? What did you want to do when you left school? First of all, did you want to be a fireman, a soldier? What was it your ambitions when you were young?
Just to take any job that would pay me the most. And I just kind of just did that, just whoever hired me next and paid me the most amount of money. I managed grocery stores. I was a house painter. I got into machine maintenance for machine shops and building maintenance. And that was when I'd had about enough. And I was kind enough that a company bought the company that I worked for. And I kind of saw it coming that sooner or later they were going to figure out that I was grossly overpaid and had far too much vacation, because I always negotiated vacation before I went to work. I'd start off every job with 3 weeks vacation. So I was kind of influencing even back then. And but when this company bought it, I saw the writing on the wall, and I started secretly kind of studying some hypnosis, because it was rather strange how I got into hypnosis. I'd always been intrigued by it. When I was a kid, I saw it on TV, on some of the sitcom stuff, and I was like, yeah, okay, that's kind of cool. Then my grandmother said that her and her children were going to get hypnotized to quit smoking. And I'm like, not me. No way. Nobody's ever getting inside of this head.
Yeah.
And 7 of them went, or 10 of them went, 7 never smoked again.
Wow.
And the ones that did planned to fail.
Yeah.
So that was a lesson for me. They all had cigarettes stashed at home, and for in case it didn't work, and that's planning to fail.
Yeah.
So I took that and it's like, okay, whatever, that's good. But then I got I got a little older. It was about 15 years later. And I had little kids looking at me. And I was like, oh, shit. They're going to learn to smoke from me. So I called a hypnotist. I tried everything. I called a hypnotist and I went and did it. And it was like, I had a high stress job at the time. And I was like, wow, this is what it's like to be relaxed.
Yeah.
You know, because I smoke a pack and a half a day in my office, 2 pots of coffee, you know, just go, go, go. And it was like, I never actually stopped to relax. And that hypnosis gave me that. And for the first 3 days afterwards, you could have hit me with a truck as long as you apologize. It's all good, man.
Yeah.
And I had these cravings, but they weren't bad.
Yeah.
For the first time, they weren't bad. And that went really good for about 2 years. And then one night I was out with the boys and we went to a dance club. And
Tango or foxtrot?
Neither. Just kind of fox-trotting around
Yeah.
in no clothes. But we were drinking beer and I was like, I could have one of them cigarettes. Have got no power over me. Bam, just like that, back to smoking. You know, pack and a half a day starting the next day. And so I did that for a couple of years and then I went and got hypnotized again. The guy said he's going to charge me double every time I came in. And he was a legit doctor, medical doctor. And so I'm like, okay, fine. Well, we fast forward to years later. Now those little ones, my youngest is had to go get some teeth pulled to get braces. And her, like her mother, is really sensitive to any kind of narcotics like Vicodin and all that stuff. It makes them sick, hungover. The kid didn't want to take any pills. Well, my mother had started taking hypnosis classes, and I knew that some of the things besides stop smoking was pain management and everything. So my daughter, the Novocaine is wearing off, you know, and now she's all feet are moving, arms are moving. She's very uncomfortable. She's about 14, 15 years old. And I remembered how the guy hypnotized me, how the doctor hypnotized me. I remembered his induction from years and years ago. And I told my daughter, I said, take a pill. And she said, no, I don't want to. And I said, you know what? Why don't you just close your eyes and listen to me? Literally in 3 minutes, she's like this. And I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, why don't you, I said, why don't you open your eyes and how you feeling? Feeling pretty good? And again, I know nothing. I don't know shit about hypnosis. And I said, feeling pretty good? And she goes, yeah, I feel amazing. Awesome. I'm like, cool. Why don't you go to sleep? And she just went, just like that. She was gone. I was like, holy shit, she must have been tired. So I dial up my mother and I tell my mom, I'm like, I told her what I did, and she starts laughing. She goes, now don't freak out. She says, but she's still hypnotized. She's either going to fall asleep and then wake up on her own, or she's going to eventually open her eyes and just be done with it if you don't talk to her. So don't worry about it. I'm like, okay. And I said, Mom, how do I learn about this hypnosis shit? You know, because I just did something that every parent would like to do. Yeah. I took away my kid's pain.
Oh, and so kids to sleep.
yeah. And so, funny story is my mom now is in memory care, and she'll call me every once in a while, and she has dementia, and she'll say, I have anxiety. Would you hypnotize me? And I'm like, yeah, are you sitting down? She's like, yeah. And I'm like, good night. Nice. And she's gone. Nice. Right? Because we programmed for that years and years ago. And she just loves it, you know. She's gone. So that's a good thing for set up with your parents in case, or anyone, because we can do this with pain just that fast.
Yeah.
So
No, I've never thought about it in that kind of circumstance, but yeah, makes sense to kind of put those triggers in there if it's
yeah,
ever needed. So brilliant.
and I do that with every client that I ever have. They call me over the phone. We can do this, bam, just like that. And it's really important because I do get the calls, and I get calls from people in my family, hey, Uncle Dan, it's like, okay, this is what I do.
Yeah.
Sit down, brace yourself. This shit happens fast. So yeah.
Yeah, I like the way you phrase it. There's a lot of hypnotherapists can be quite woo woo, quite
Yeah, yeah,
softly, but you're like, yeah, you're going into trance now.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There's no
But
ifs, ands, or buts.
yeah, I mean, from a therapy point of view, you're known for your quit smoking thing. Let me just bring up. I've got a quick link to the website for that,
Okay.
which is your this one, I believe. I'll just pop it up on the screen for a second, and that should put a link in the comment section. And that's the Stop Smoking Guy. So, which is again such a great thing to do to enable to stop people from smoking, because we all know how bad that is now. But what took you from, and just going back to something you said earlier as well, I wonder how many people are accidental therapists who
Yeah.
have an interest in hypnosis from the stuff that they remember from watching when they were young, and go,
Yes.
oh, I want to do that. And in looking to learn it, are then forced to learn hypnotherapy. But
Right.
really, they've got that stage stuff inside of them. So I think we've got a lot of accidental therapists out there. But
Absolutely.
what took you from the therapy, from helping people, to going on stage?
Well, like I said, I had this little downtown office in my hometown, and everybody called me the Stop Smoking Guy, even though I did therapy for everything else. I helped over 4,000 people quit smoking in just that little office right
Well
there.
done. Well done.
And which afforded me all kinds of fun stuff, because I remember telling myself one time, I challenged myself to do nothing but shock inductions for 1 year, no matter who came in.
Brilliant.
Right. And the first call I get, I'm like, yeah, make the appointment. She comes in. It's 83-year-old lady. I'm like, how in the am I going to drop this 83-year-old lady?
Yeah.
And while we were chatting, I'm like, oh, I know what I'm gonna do. And I just walked over. I asked her if she was ready. I did the pre-talk thing.
Yeah.
Quick little pre-talk. And I said, here's what I want you to do. Look here. Put your hand here. And I just reached up and I said, follow all my instructions instantly and automatically. Big deep breath in. And I just took the back of her chair and went to sleep. And she just folded. I just jostled her chair a little bit and she was gone just like that. And I was like, but that was the very next one. So I do all these things as challenges with myself, doing inductions in bars when people, you a hypnotist? Can you really do that?
Yeah.
And so that started taking those shock inductions to kind of demonstrations. And then things are rocking and rolling. I'm doing 40 new clients a month, 40 to 50 new clients a month just for stopping smoking. And then all of a sudden, my wife had an injury and we went to the doctor to find out what it was. And it was cancer. And they said that there was no cure for it.
Oh.
And it's the most painful cancer there is. And but we could manage it for a while. And with chemotherapy and all of that stuff. And they said that she would need full-time care. So I became her private hypnotist. I closed my office at that point.
Yeah.
I worked on because my early influences were Elman, Kine, Stephen Parkhill, all the forgiveness therapies. So we worked on that with her. I handled all her pain medication. She had 27 fractures in her spine from this cancer. Some of them were big enough, they said you could put a coin in them and they would just hang. And so it was a particularly nasty thing called multiple myeloma. But they would give her, she did very little pain meds. I took care of that for her. She even had recordings for when I wanted to sleep. But they would give her the chemotherapy and she would not be able to sleep from Friday morning till Monday night because of the illness, and mostly because of the steroids that they jacked her so full of, she'd be bouncing off the walls. And so I asked her doctor if she had to suffer through all of that. She had to be awake. And he said, no. Yeah, and you can take enough pain meds, it'll help. And I said, oh, I got a better way. And that was the first time they knew. I said, I'm a hypnotist. I just knock her the fuck out. and the doctor goes, you can do that? I'm like, boom. And she's like that. And he's like, holy hell. Oh, yeah, you know. And so I quit my practice to take care of her. And about 2 years into that, she said, she kept working because she said, look, if I work, I don't have time to feel sorry for myself. I don't have time for this bullshit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, cool, I'll take care of everything else. And so she would work about 6 hours a day. Even when she went into the hospital and she did a stem cell transplant that literally kills all your bone marrow.
Oh.
And I went with her, stayed with her, you know. She still worked. She still worked every day. And we get home, time goes by, she's getting better. She says, you can go back to work now, you know. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to do all the emotional work and still have all this emotion.
Yeah.
It's just not good because I'm going to tell somebody what I think of their bullshit excuses, right? And it's not going to go over well for a therapist to do that, although sometimes I do. But I said, you know, I think I want more fun in my life. I want more fun in our life. So I'm going to do stage hypnosis.
Nice.
Now, my wife, she doesn't cuss, and she hates it when I cuss. But my wife looked at me and she says, it is about fucking time. And I went, potty mouth, geez, excuse me. And I said, what do you mean? She says, everybody knows you should be on stage. You should be doing this. Sorry.
Oh.
Hold on. There we go. I got interrupted big time. So anyway, I posted on Facebook. You know, I met Mark Savard and went to one of his trainings.
Yeah.
But I was like, I'm not going to be a stage hypnotist, but if I teach hypnosis, I want to be able to speak intelligently about something that, quite frankly, I don't think a lot of hypnotherapy teachers know a damn thing about.
Yeah.
I want to speak about it intelligently. And Mark's like, yeah, this is a good idea. So I had taken his training, but not really done anything with it. But I posted on Facebook that I was going to start doing stage hypnosis, and it just kind of blew up. And all of a sudden the phone rings, and it's one of my best friends in hypnosis, Terry Stokes Jr.
Nice.
And both junior and senior had been friends of mine. I was just a therapist, but and not had any desire to be on stage, even though they prodded me all the time to get on stage. I'm like, nope, I'm a therapist. I got to keep this all legit. Right?
Yeah, keep it legit.
And I didn't realize I was making excuses.
Yeah.
And so they called me and they said, hey, let's do this. You know, let's come down here. You know, we're gonna do some shows. You get on stage with us, and we'll get you all polished up and ready to do this. And I'm like, awesome. And so they said, yeah, we'll do them on weekends. You'll do 2 weekends. Come spend a week with us. And we call it polishing the turd. They're going to take my shit show and shine it up. And so I go down. I'm like, yeah, I'll sign up. And they go, yeah, these are high school shows in the middle of the night. It's awesome. You'll have the time of your life. Well, we were going to get together first and go over stuff, but nothing happened. We couldn't because they're professional entertainers, and I'm just Joe Schmo going to do this for shits and giggles. They didn't get here when they said they were. We got to work nothing out. And but before that, they had called me and go, hey, got a great idea. Why don't you, after we do some of these shows, you just go out there, you know, and do what you do, hypnotize people, and you do one of these high school shows on your own, man. They're awesome. They're easy. I'm like, yeah, sure. Only thing is we never got to meet up.
Yeah.
Right? They got me to go, got me in a contract. And now it's like a week before my show. And I forgot everything I ever learned about hypnosis, to the point of I got sick, and I was throwing up so bad, and I was sweating from my shins. I was just, every pore in my body opened up, and I was just sweating profusely and throwing up. And I threw up for like 36 hours. Just not, I had nothing more to give, you know. I laughed. I threw up so hard I could taste my own butt. And they all thought that was funny here too.
Yeah.
And I called one of my friends, Jack Hirsch, that I had studied, me and him had studied together with martial arts training. And I'm like, I tell him what's going on, and he's laughing. He's just laughing. I'm like, what is so goddamn funny? Oh, why are you people laughing? He goes, dude, you're having a panic attack. I'm like, I am not having any shit. I'm having a panic attack. I'd help people never been on stage, you know? And even got a little sweat going on just doing this interview with you. But so I practice every day. I did an age regression on myself to find out what the hell was going on and where this came from. So I'm rehearsing here. Everybody's laughing at me because he's rehearsing the hypnosis show, because they're a bunch of assholes that have been doing this for 50 years, you know? And they were laughing at me, and I
sorry, yeah. Richard Cole's just put, I was so sick I could taste my own butt. That's my takeaway from this talk.
Right? Thank you.
Yeah, I must admit, yeah, it's a great line.
So yeah, thanks, Richard. I miss you, buddy. And so, but I went to do the show, and Terry Stokes Jr. had sent his assistant with me to help me out, because he's like, this is going to be a train wreck, but he'll get through it, right? Yeah. And so, oddly enough, we went to do the show, and she introduced me, and I stepped out on stage, and I was jittery as hell. And I got up there, and I talked, and it was just babble, babble, babble. And I invited kids on stage, and it's like, holy shit. It was like a tornado of kids storming the stage, which was awesome. And then I just had them close their eyes. As soon as I started the induction, I'd done that thousands of times.
Yeah.
I just settled right in. And I remember when I got to the first routine, right? Because I did a hand drop on every one of these kids, right? And that was entertaining to everybody. Yeah. But as soon as I had them, I did the big band everybody likes to do. As soon as they bent down to pick up their instruments, I'm standing there with a microphone, and in my own head, I am like, would you look at this shit? They're actually doing it, right?
Yeah.
And I had worked out pretty much with the assistant the order that the show was going to go, and for props, and for her to do the music. And we got through that show. I started having fun, like in 5 minutes. And I was like, this is a blast. And I remember what my friend Jack Hirsch said. He said, yeah, I hate the anxiety I get. He says, but once I get on stage, there's no place I'd rather be. And I was experiencing that at the moment. And the show went off awesome. We get in the car. The assistant looks at me and she goes, what the hell was that? I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, I'm going to tell you, that was so funny. She goes, I literally thought I was going to pee my pants.
Nice.
At some of the shit that you pulled. She says, but you said you were going to follow this order, She goes, you went totally off the reservation. She goes, I had no freaking idea what you were going to do next. I'm like, I didn't either, because I had these cheater notes, pasted all over and on the floor and shit. I just forgot to look at them. and just started doing stupid shit that, because I had thought of some really fun routines. And I thought, what the hell? Might as well try them.
I think that's when you can get your best stuff as well. Like you said, then you very similar to me. I have terrible nerves before a show, but once I'm out, I love it. But yeah, once you get in that flow and you're having fun, it zips past. Let me just a couple of things. Jeff Benning says hello as well. And
hi,
Brian,
Jeff.
Yeah, Brian Bay says, Daniel, you look great. I hope you tell the story about Seattle below Pike's Place Market and the deaf kid.
Oh, yeah, I was invited to come to a street hypnosis workshop. And I was like, okay, sounds cool. I looked at it as demonstration, but with some funny shit happening. And so I've been doing demos for years. But this particular thing, I had done, there was a group of kids, and there was all these hypnotists doing this. It was with Justin James. He was putting on the training.
Yeah.
And I was working with these kids, and this one kid started crying. I'd hypnotize them all one at a time, and this kid started crying. And I asked what was wrong. And at that moment, I realized he was deaf. And he said, this looks like so much fun. I would like to try this. But they said I can't be hypnotized because I'm deaf. I said, can you read lips? And he said, yes. I said, so watch my lips, but I want to tell you, you're going to follow along with everything I say and do with your eyes open. But at some point, I'm going to tap you on the neck. That means open your eyes, but stay however you feel at that moment, right? And so he's like, yes. And so boom, boom, boom. It took, I don't know, less than 60 seconds. And he was all like this. And I touched him on the neck. And I said, you can understand what I'm saying? And he said, yeah. I said, good. Stuck his hand to his forehead. And he was like, what the hell? He was totally amazed. And he's crying. He's so happy.
Nice.
And we did all kinds of goofy shit with him. And I mean, I just did this basic, Mark Howell, I think is the guy I learned silent hypnosis from. And it's just touching and getting them to follow along and rotating their head and everything. It just takes a real quick minute. But yeah, Brian Bay, thanks for mentioning that. That was an awesome moment that I really got to feel happy about with that kid. And it was fun. The kid messaged me, found me on Facebook and messaged me and everything about what a great time he had. So
awesome.
That was a pretty cool memory.
And the thing is, I mean, that's something that's going to stay with him for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
A positive experience of hypnosis. Chris Villiani says, Dan is one of the most creative hypnotists I know. Keep up the amazing journey, my friend.
Thank you, Chris.
Jack Hirsch says, hey, Dan here, showing some love as well. So yes.
Thanks, Jack. Don't come up here and slap my name out of your mouth. I've used it a couple of times. So don't want anybody Will Smith and me here. We already have a problem with these bald guys upstairs telling me that they can get Will Smith to come kick my ass.
But they seem to be behaving, so that's good.
They are. Because I fully expected them. They said they were going to get a homeless guy to run around here while I'm trying to do this interview, come in here all naked and shit.
There is time yet. So let's not count those chickens before
Terry Stokes Jr. is quite the creative and dastardly son of a bitch.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. That's a great title. A dastardly son of a bitch.
There you go. See, I think that's a good stage name.
You know what? There's some great sound bites coming out of this interview. I'm writing all these down. I'm going to take credit for them. That's going to be my new thing, a T-shirt that says "Dastardly son of a bitch."
Actually, I think it's a lot better than "Damn, I'm pretty." Hey, so yeah. Just giving some love to Jim Kellner there.
I love Jim Kellner. He's a good friend. His British accent is second to none.
It's total shit. But
his British accent is a lot better than my American accent. So
there you go.
He looked after me when we were in New York, and what a lovely guy. I mean, the community of hypnotists over there, it's just a really great feel for it. Here in the UK, we're few and far between, so we're all quite bitchy, to be fair. But you
Right.
guys seem to be quite friendly. So I think
we like screwing with each other. So yeah.
I think this generation of stage hypnotists, the guys that are on the road working now, I think because of the internet, there does seem to be a really good vibe between everybody, which is really good at the moment.
Yeah.
Flawed and Fabulous says he's got quite the mouth on him.
I don't know who Flawed and Fabulous is, but yeah, I do. So, but I blame that on, I learned some NLP from Tony Robbins, so I drop the F-bomb all the time. I blame it on him.
It's such a great word. Used well, nothing delivers a sentence like a fuck at the end sometimes.
Oh, there's 3,000 different meanings to it.
Oh, absolutely.
I just use it like an apostrophe on everything.
Exactly. Brilliant. Tell us about your most challenging show. We've all had that show where we go, do you know what I mean? It's things haven't gone to plan, but they're the ones where we tend to learn a lot. For me, it always comes at the end of a run when I think, you get to that point, you go, do you know what? I can do this with my eyes closed. This is so, and then all of a sudden I'll have a show that kind of goes, now I'm going to teach you a lesson, Grant. Tell us about your most challenging show.
Well, this one was one of my most proud. This one was one of my most proud ones too, because my wife got to watch.
Oh, sorry. Flawed and Fabulous is your daughter, Krista.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Hey, good night, sis. So yeah, my wife was there on this particular shit show that happened, and sometimes I get real assertive because I am one that is like, oh no, I'm not the all hypnosis is self-hypnosis guy. I'm like, no, I don't give away my power. It's like, hold on, this ride happens fast. Right? And so anyway, I got hired to do
that's such a great phrase as well. I'm going to steal all these phrases at the end of this show. That's brilliant.
Well, when in my office early on, I used to ask people, I said, so there's a couple of ways to be hypnotized. One takes about 20 to 40 minutes, super boring, super slow, super old school. So there's that, and then there's the one that kids call the super fast fun way. Which one do you want? Everybody's like, super fast fun way. I'm like,
nice.
Benny Hinn, here we go. And so I steal their ass. And so at this particular thing that I was hired to do was for a group of 30. And I'm like, small groups. I love small groups. Yeah, if I have a high school that's only got 35 kids with dates, I'm like, this is fun because we're all going to get stupid now because I'm going to do this half first and then this half. And but so this one I show up, and because of bad weather, there were only 10 people. And I was asked to have dinner and drinks and then do a show with them. Wow. Well, there's one guy, he's not the guy that hired me. He goes, and these are all alphas. Everyone in this room is an alpha. And this guy says, well, I don't know why you're here. Because none of us want to be hypnotized. None of us believe in this hypnosis shit. And quite frankly, we think you're a fraud. And I'm like, good for you. I said, but I'm getting paid to have dinner and drinks at the very least, right? I said, but while we eat and have drinks, you guys can ask me any question you want about hypnosis. And they did. And so I got to talk about some fun stuff. And then I just stood up and walked away from the table where we had all these chairs set up. And I said, people ask me all the time about being, they're too smart. They can't be hypnotized. And I said, I once had this school teacher. She said the same thing. She was too smart. And I pointed at the chair and I started talking to the chair like she was in that chair. And I told her that there's only two things that can keep a person from being hypnotized. And I look back and everybody's staring at the chair because I have my hand pointed at the chair like this. and like I'm talking to that lady in the chair. I said, there's only two things to keep you from being hypnotized. One, you have an IQ lower than Forrest Gump. And two, you're just too afraid to follow along. That's the only thing that keeps people from being hypnotized. This happens naturally in our day all the time. So what are you? Are you just fucking stupid? Or are you just too scared to follow along? Just being a scared little bitch.
Nice.
And I looked over at that alpha dog, the guy that alpha dogged me, and I just stared at him. And I said, but you know, I'm not like that anymore, you know? And I said, actually, I'll show you guys some really fun stuff with hypnosis. You guys want to see some fun stuff? And I did a stiff arm. I did finger magnets. They were blown away. I did the stiff arm on the dude, there's alpha dog, and he's just like this. And he can't bend it and everything. And I'm like, and sleep, down he went. And I'm like,
nice.
Right? And everybody's like, what the, but that FU was in my mind.
Yeah.
Everybody else is like, what the hell? And I'm like, hi, sleep, sleep, sleep. And it's gone. And I was like, and out of 10, 7 of them were down for the count.
Nice.
And actually 2 of those actually went well, but they were drunk. And I didn't want that to ramp up and get drunker. So I just had them pop their eyes open and enjoy the show, because it would have been just a show for one person and my wife. And it was so funny because they wanted adult natured stuff. So let's just say that I did one that Terry Stokes Jr. does about the chair poking you in the butt.
Yeah.
And you don't like it. And I switched it up to where you do like it. And then I had his wife, I gave her the power. He really likes it, especially if you do this. When you tap your forehead, he feels it. And if you say, it's just the tip, he will really know that means all the way to the balls.
Nice.
And this lady's doing this. And I'm like, that's what you get when you alpha dog me, you prick. And so anyway, that was one of my toughest ones, but I did it. Helped me get over that hump right away.
Yeah.
That was early on. And then I also studied with Anthony Gailey how to do the corporate stuff.
Nice. Yeah.
And we broke the cardinal rule. It was a surprise. The hypnosis was a surprise.
Yeah.
And didn't matter. Didn't matter at all, because I like to push those things that we say matter.
Yeah.
I like to see if they really do. And I had 300 redneck lumber mill employees, all within 5 minutes, buckets and balloons doing this in the audience, like, I had not one volunteer, but magically ended up with 6 on stage.
Nice.
And which is exactly the number of seats I had out, because I planned it that way. And
a couple of quick comments here as well. Dennis Ridgway says, Richard and I are collecting $5 for every blue word, and it looks like we're going to Hawaii. Richard Cole says, now it looks like we're going to Australia.
Yeah, I learned from Australians how to swear.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, see, and the funny thing is, all my shows are 100% clean.
Yeah.
And my wife's like going, how can you do a show without swearing? Because you can't order dinner without swearing. And I'm like, that's because I'm grown and I do what I want.
Yeah.
And
Brian Bass says, we broke the cardinal rule equals tequila was involved.
Sometimes, but I've been known to do some pretty stupid shit without alcohol. So I saw that sign in Mexico just lately. I was just there a couple of weeks ago.
Nice.
And that sign was hanging on the wall. And I'm like, that's my sign right there.
Brilliant. So, I mean, where do you see, like, obviously the pandemic hit stage hypnosis hard. And coming out of that, the whole mask situation, do you touch people, do you not? I mean, here in the UK, we're kind of, I don't want to say it, but we're back to normal now, which is quite good. How are things over there? Has your show changed because of COVID now? are shows, people attending shows, are tickets like what they were? How are things coming out the other side?
Well, when COVID hit, it was like, holy crap! I had a ton of bookings, and then literally within 2 weeks of this, people were laughing at people getting off planes wearing a mask. I was in the airport. I was at Catherine Hicklin's house in Vegas, and had just finished teaching a stop smoking seminar there for hypnotists, and it was on March 2nd. And I told my wife, she's like, man, this is your year, baby. You are slammed with shows this year. And by March 7th, nothing. Yeah. Everything was gone. Nobody was laughing at the mask anymore. Shit just got real. But by fall, I had people contact me, go, hey, could you secretly come and do a show? And we'll do it outside. And, we'll do distancing. I'm like, yeah, we can move the chairs around, and we had the invisible face shields and everything. Yep. And so I had a gallon jug of hand sanitizer and all this stuff, and we did by all the protocols that they were asking to do at the time. And so we did some of those. Then the following year, everybody's like, no, we're doing it. And so we got a bunch of calls, and we went, and some of these places I go to, there's only 500 people in the entire county, not the town, the entire county.
Wow.
And I pull up to the gas station, and I've got my mask on because I'm from Oregon, and they're total freaks about the mask there. There's a Karen around every corner just lurking to unleash on your ass. And so I get out, I got the mask on, I walk in, and no one in the gas station here has a mask on except for me. And I'm pretty sure I heard at least 3 clicks of different hammers getting pulled back, on weapons, because I'm in a gas station with a mask on.
Yeah.
I get to the school, no masks on the principal. He's like, hi, Dan, my name's Dan too. And he goes, yeah, we don't do that shit here. Yeah. No one in this entire county has had COVID. Right? I'm like, oh, okay, but I'm from out of town. And he goes, yeah, don't worry about it. We're all good. The very next day I do another one. Everybody's got masks on. Everyone in the entire town has had COVID. Yeah. That was the next day. Wow. So things now seem to be back to normal. There's no masks, there's no mask here at any of the shows I'm going to. And quite frankly, I like to think that I'm funny, and those that get my biggest applause. But in the shows, when I would pull my mask off to do my monologue, I got the biggest applause right then and there. I got standing ovations for taking my mask off. Yeah. I'm like, wow, I wish I could get those from being funny. But, I'll keep working on trying to be funny.
Hey, do you know what? I can't believe this is the first time we've spoke, to be fair. You're an absolutely amazing guest. So, and such a great guy as well. A few people messaged me about you, and the amount of love that is out there in the industry for you is absolutely amazing. So, yeah, it's
I'm flattered. I'm turning all red. Because like I told you before, I'm just a guy that talks to people with their eyes closed. They listen better that way, Brilliant. So, yeah. Brilliant.
So, do you do any of the conferences? Are you at Hypno Thoughts? Are you doing any of those this year?
I was going to speak at Hypno Thoughts, and then I think it was last year, and then literally, I was going to do it online. Yeah. And then literally, I got taken off my feet. We think it was COVID. We didn't go test, but I was actually going to go down. That's right. And then they say you want to do it online, but I was down for the count for one day, and then it took me like 4 or 5 days just to recuperate from that. And I was in my RV, or as you guys like to call them, my caravan. And it was like, yeah, man, I'm not going anywhere. I didn't want to eat. I didn't want anything, but I could still slightly taste tequila, and which I drink quite a bit of.
But Richard Cole said, I'm going to start using more cuss words just in honor of you.
Thank you. Only for today. You know, that'll be Honor Dan Day. But after that, don't cuss. It's not cool.
So, a question I always ask the guests that come on as well is 2 books that you think are essential for either a hypnotherapist wanting to go into stage or just hypnosis in general. 2 books that you think every hypnotist should at least read once.
My first, when I asked my mom that I wanted to be a hypnotist, she sent me Dave Ellman's hypnotherapy book, and I read it 5 times that week. Crashed and burned every time I tried to do the Ellman induction. My wife told me, she says, "Well, maybe you're just not meant to be a hypnotist," you know. And I'm like, "Wow!" So I went out and promptly dropped my daughter. She was 14. I'm like, "Here, boom, done. See what you know, lady." But Dave Ellman, Terry Stokes' book, you know, was awesome. I never really read any stage hypnosis books. Everybody's like, "Oh yeah, get Orman McGill's book," but I didn't want to do the routines because I see a lot of people fall into that, and so I didn't do the book. I just did what Terry Stokes Sr. told me to do.
Yeah,
in the middle of my meltdown.
Yeah, his book is brilliant. It's weirdly, I think there's 2 times stage hypnotists need to train. There's in the beginning, before you know anything about hypnosis, learn hypnosis, then just go out and do it. Then learn your stuff, get some of your mistakes, get your shit out of the way, and then go back and then learn some more. Then loads of people make the mistake of doing loads of courses in the beginning, but they're not out there doing it and figuring it out first, you know.
Too many people that I see is they're saving up. They're taking all these classes because I'm going to do this later on. And I tell people, don't fall for that bullshit. That's your own inside self, you know, putting it out there and pushing it out there, just like I did with the stage hypnosis. Because secretly inside, I realized I always wanted to be up there on stage doing that. Because I saw Terry Stokes once and I went on a TV show and I said, I want to know what he's doing and saying.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that I had set that in motion, you know, because I did. I ended up meeting him and he's like, come on my stage, you know, let's play. And so don't wait. Take a training, go do that shit. Take another training, go do that shit.
Yeah.
You know, that's what you want to do because you don't really learn until you start putting your hands on people. And then those people will tell you what's working and what's not. And don't be afraid to have it not work perfectly. Even doctors' pills don't work the same on everybody out there. So go out there and fail forward. You know?
Oh, I like that. Fail forward. I was going to say, I always ask guests as well for a golden nugget. One piece of advice that you either give to yourself that you wish you had in the beginning or something you would give to your younger you to kind of go, this is the best bit of advice that I think you need. If you're going to do this, this is what you should do. What would that be?
Say yes. Just say yes. Even when you're scared shitless, just say yes. My corporate stuff comes from that. My corporate keynote stuff. They called me on the phone. They wanted a funny show. I told them why that wasn't a good idea and why this keynote thing would have been better. And they did. And I didn't even have a show put together. I built it and went and did it.
Yeah.
So
you know what?
say yes, and you'll build your stuff.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm a procrastinator. And for me, a couple of years ago, I made exactly that decision. Do you know what? It doesn't matter what it was. I was going to agree to it and then figure it out. And that was it. You know, it transformed my business when it came to hypnosis as well. Kerry Taggart as well says, great advice. Need to be out there doing it. Kerry Taggart is from the center of the universe. That there, Manchester in here, England. Which
nice.
Is the
I got
one
person like what I said in all of Great Britain.
Exactly.
No, awesome. Thanks for listening. I'm glad somebody got something out of this. You know,
Daniel, it's fair to say I've really enjoyed this one.
Thank you. I've enjoyed you too.
You're an absolute gentleman.
No.
Yeah.
No.
What was it? You were dastardly.
Shit. We'll have to look at the replay.
We're gonna have to watch the replay.
Yeah.
Yes,
Destined to be dastardly. I don't know.
that's it. That's it. But yes, Anthony Guest says it's been great watching you guys. Guys, thank you very much for all the love's coming in for you again now. Take care, Dan. Yes, so Dan, thank you very much. And let me just put up your Hypno Dan website as well.
Hypnoman Dan.
Hypnoman Dan. Do check him out. Check out his social medias, his Facebook, his website. And obviously, if you see him performing anywhere, do check him out. Guys, thank you very much for joining me. Look at that. Tommy V is in the house as well.
Dang.
You, Tommy. There we go. So, guys, thank you very much for joining us. Please put lots of applause emojis, laughing emojis. Even if you want to put one of those eggplant emojis, you can do. But please show Dan some absolute love. And, guys, take care.
And show Grant some love, too, man. These things are awesome.
Yeah, I'm loveless now.
You're doing awesome. Thank you, sir. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much, guys. Take care, and I'll see you next week.